I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Johnny Smith.
And this is On the Other Side of Things, the Smith & Sniff spin-off in which we answer your questions. Yes, more questions and hopefully some answers, although that's not guaranteed.
Questions.
I think last week we had a listener, Jack, who wrote in asking about cars and being worried about cars that you have an emotional attachment to in dark times. And I think we slightly misinterpreted his question and then went on for about 10 minutes about something else. So, Jack, if we didn't entirely answer your question, I do apologise, but hopefully there was something in there that you could pick the bones from.
Well, also, Jack, to that end, if a car is causing you a huge degree of worry and upset, and incrementally improving it and driving it and kind of tweaking it is not, doesn't outweigh the worry, I think you need to accept that perhaps selling it is the best idea for the car's welfare and vetting the person that will buy it. So you make sure it goes to... I've had this with barn funds on the Late Break Show, where the person is going to sell the car. They've come around to the idea that they're going to let it go, but they have to make sure it goes to a custodian that understands the importance and possibly stays in touch. So it's a big decision to make, but it's not always the wrong decision. In fact, it could be the best decision. So let's just add that to the mix as well. Good point.
We'll crack into the questions themselves.
Yeah.
I have one here from a patron called Kyle Ayres. He admits this is an odd one, but he says, I've always wondered what the universal car floor mats were originally based on. I've always thought that maybe they might have been based on something from the 70s or 80s, and as the years have gone on, they fit worse in modern cars.
I love this question, because whenever I try and search for real original floor mats for one of my cars, the search engine always just grabs hold of my scruff and drags me down the unnamed road of, these will fit anything. They honestly will.
No
I
name
promise you.
Brand floor mats.
No name floor mats. And it's like, for goodness sake, that's not going to fit. I'm going to be there with a scalpel and some offcuts of paper, because I'm going to end up making a template out of old cardboard. They don't work.
Get the Singer out. The sewing machine, not the beautifully and exquisitely resto-modded Porsche, because you're going to have to make your own floor mats. I don't know the answer to this, Carl, I'm afraid, because I would assume that rather than being based on one thing, they just sort of took an average. But I wonder if, in general, generic floor mats fit worse in modern cars because there is more variation in footwell shape and contouring now, because what with computers and stuff, they're designing the floor pans and the metalwork of cars in a far more intricate way to give strength where it's needed for crash performance and other things.
Yeah.
And so you do get these sort of humps and lumps. And also packaging cars they're able to do it in a much more sophisticated way, but also have to, just because cars have more stuff on them.
Because of CAD file, isn't it? Because of CAD file.
Yeah, you do. The CAD file is quite big. Yeah. And it's so you're getting these sort of lumps and humps and bits of where it's not entirely flat.
Yeah.
And so the mats, unless they're very precisely tailored, don't sit right. But in a way where once upon a time, the floor pan was essentially just sort of big stamping within a transmission tunnel.
Yeah.
And so a broadly rectangular mat with a little cut for where the wheel arch might be was good enough.
I'm going to say two things. I'm going to say, one, I'm going to use this opportunity to just shamelessly put a shout out for if anybody has any original Honda Insight floor mats. I'm looking for a pair, have been for some time, and also maybe Boxster. But also, I think the floor mats are based on something General Motors. That's my gut is telling me that the universal floor mat is a General Motors product, so that it's big in Europe, big in the UK, big in left-hand, right-hand drive. Yeah. So I'm going to say an older Astra. I'm going to say a Mark III Astra. Or a Cavalier, also known as, what do they call it in Cadet?
A Skona.
Is it the Ascona?
Yeah, Ascona and then Vectra.
Yes, that's what I'm going to say. It's a great question.
It's a great question. I mean, it's one of those things you don't really think about until someone makes you think about it. So thank you, Carl. I'm sorry we couldn't actually really answer it, but, it's maybe we will never know. If anyone does know, then do get in touch. hello@smithandsniff.com. Can I read you this one from Dave Carter, which is a little bit of a story that leads to a question?
Yeah, I love those.
He says, in the mid-70s, my dad had an old Austin Princess 3-litre Vanden Plas.
Oh,
Brackets 84 DUK. Good registration remembering there from Dave. Most Sundays he would take me with him to get petrol. On this occasion he decided he would give the new car wash a go. It was a big blue and glass wonder with huge whirling brushes with long strands of yellow and blue flailing around at great speed.
Oh no.
I was so excited as it meant I didn't have to wash the massive car like I did most Sundays. We drove into the machine and my dad rolled down his window and put in the required coinage. We waited and waited for the thing to start. "Any time now, son, watch this, you'll love it," said Dad. Nothing. Just nothing. A lady appeared from the petrol station in a blue and yellow anorak. Brackets. National, I think. It probably would have been, wouldn't it, in those colours. She came right up to the bonnet of the car and shouted to my dad that he needed to give the coin thing a good thump as it was playing up. He immediately did this, and the car wash machine set off like a bastard. I can still see the look of absolute terror on the lady's face as the brushes and water sprayers sprang to life. She froze as it was too tight to get past the car, and the large horizontal spinning and blue and yellow brush hit her from behind, lifting her swiftly up onto the bonnet and pressing her ruddy wet face up against the windscreen, her mouth open like a surrealist painting.
No.
While the brush continued up and over the car, there was silence as my dad and I both looked straight ahead, knowing if we made eye contact we'd probably have pissed ourselves laughing. Eventually, the brushes reached the back and took a temporary pause. As things went eerily quiet, the lady, now piss-wet through, gracefully slid off the bonnet in front of the car. As soon as her face disappeared over the shiny chrome grille, the brushes spun up, and water came from everywhere, creating a fog like something from a horror movie. We couldn't see the lady anymore, and the machine finished its job and a buzzer sounded. As the brushes sat limp and dripping, the sad, wet petrol station lady struggled to her feet, dripping water from everywhere. She tried to compose herself and staggered off like someone from the Thriller video. Without a word, Dad drove off, pulled around the corner, and then we doubled over laughing. We must have cried for over 10 minutes, and it still gets mentioned every time we see a car wash. So, Dave's question is, have you ever had any unfortunate incidents at a car wash?
I mean, my family avoided them because my dad, being an engineer, just mistrusted them. So
this is uncanny.
Really?
It's such a shame that my dad is no longer with us, because I think your dad and my dad could have been great friends because of their engineer's outlook on life.
Is it kindred spirits?
Yeah. Oh, my dad absolutely flat refused to use one of those car washes for various reasons, mostly because he said it wasn't good for the paint. But he almost sort of actively looked down on people who used them for their slovenly attitude to car care.
I know exactly what you mean, and I think my dad. We did use. I have been in car washes. It's sort of a vague memory of when. I don't think my mum used them because I know my mum knew that my dad didn't like them, and Dad would always get his collection of brushes and sponges out. My dad had grades before detailing was even a word. Dad would have his grades of brushes and sponges, so he'd downgrade one sponge to the wheel sponge. That would be the end of the line before he got retired. Yeah, so although they were sponges and detailing freaks, they don't like sponges apparently. This was the 80s/90s, so he used to buy a new sponge for the kind of the roof and the doors, and then there'd be another sponge for the sort of the lower flanks, and then there'd be the retirement sponge for the wheels. Yeah, and a multitude of brushes. But I think I went in a car wash. I've been in a car wash in a foreign country, It might have been a hire car that got exceptionally... Yeah, I think it's a hired car that got really dusty. Then there was a downpour of rain, and then it just looked like someone had had diarrhea all over it, and we needed to give it back the day after. So I think we flung it through one of these automated car washes.
Yeah.
But I always felt like at any moment something was going to fall off, and it was going to be like a metal to metal situation. And the car would get gouged heavily. Also, there's a horror film thing to them as well. You're sort of trapped.
Well, yeah, particularly if there's a sodden woman in a blue and yellow anorak coming towards you, as Dave says, like something out of the Thriller video.
That's probably
I was so resistant to those kind of car washes because of my dad that I don't think I'd ever been in one until I was in my 20s, late 20s. I'd never been through one. And then I was filming something with our friend Gareth Jones for an on-speed video. And we were doing something with a Ford S-Max around London, doing this London Grand Prix thing. And to make sure the car looked nice and shiny on camera, because we've been filming and we'd gone somewhere quite dusty, Gareth went, I'll just put it through the car wash. And I think that was the first time in my life I'd been through a car wash. And it was memorable for two reasons. One, first time I'd ever been through a car wash. Yeah. And secondly, because as we were going through the car wash, Gareth told me some anecdotes about meeting Aha.
Really?
Yeah. So it became very surreal. I was like, this might be a dream, because I'm in a car wash with Gaz Top and he's telling me about meeting Aha.
I've just remembered, actually, the last time I went in a car wash, it was with a guy I used to go to college with called Alex. And he used to borrow his parents' Mark I Clio. But he used to get it really dirty and he was quite lazy. So he once put it through a car wash on the way to... we were going to McDonald's and then an aquarium shop, because we weren't nerdy at all. We were real dudes at college. And so and I think that's we went in this red Mark I Clio, which is weird because you don't see Mark I Clios anymore. I've realised this. They've hit they've had that point of just all disappearing. They were everywhere and nowhere.
An original early Mark I Clio is over 30 years old now.
That's terrifying. Absolutely Isn't terrifying. It? I know. Shit. I've got a letter from Eddie. He said, following Otosot 7, I hope to have my question answered sometime within the next 2 years. Well, congratulations, Eddie. Eddie says, on long motorway journeys, I enjoy nothing more than a good game of Anal Caravan to while away the miles. My wife doesn't share my amusement with the game, so it's somewhat of an internal monologue, with the occasional snort or ha-ha-ha marauder breaking surface. Question is, though, did you and Richard invent the AC game? I love the fact that he calls it the AC game.
The AC game.
And bonus question, do you remember the AC Cobra? It's called the Anal Caravan Cobra.
Now, there's two types of electricity. There's direct current and there's anal caravan.
So he said, did you and Richard invent the AC game? And bonus question, what is your best ever AC capture? My all-time favourite is Swift, which works best when you let anal bring up the rear, so to speak. Oh, Forever grateful if you read this out in its entirety, which we have. He signed off saying 2.2, yeah. Well, believe Eddie. We did not invent the Anal Caravan game.
No. I don't know who did.
No, I think it's one of those things that's been around a while, pre-internet, but just... It's like folklore, isn't it? I don't know who invented it either. We maybe will never be able to discover.
No.
But your question of, like, have you got a favourite AC? Well, if you go I like classic caravans. Vintage caravans is always a rich vein to search for on eBay, and that French eBay type site called Le Bon Coin, because the French do like a funky caravan from the 70s.
Yes.
I've found a couple of quite cool caravans over the years. There's a Dutch one which may work for the AC game. It's a very small egg-shaped caravan, and it's called the Biode Extase, EXTASE. So by a Dutch company called Bart. So I think the anal biode ecstasy, which to me sounds like some sort of like, I don't know, brightly coloured, electronically controlled beads that you might insert. The biode ecstasy has got to be up there, which is a lovely, sweet little caravan from 1972, 73 era. And another one that I'm going to say is this. Another caravan from the 60s called the Cruiser Carousel. And again, I think this one could work for the AC game because an anal cruiser carousel just made me laugh. It's actually a really tasteful caravan, which doesn't deserve to be included in the AC game. But now that we're calling it the AC game, I think it's even funnier. So there we go. I'll just finish it by saying there's a late 70s caravan called a Terry Royale Toranga.
I just think nothing fancy for you. But I swear that I've seen caravans with just like deluxe written on the side. And I always think the anal deluxe makes me laugh for some reason. I think it's because deluxe is a funny word. But there we are.
Deluxe is a great word.
Isn't it?
Isn't it?
But it's a strange word. I was going to read a question from who? I don't know because I've lost my questions. That's annoying, isn't it?
Do you want me to read one out?
Oh, yes, sorry. No, I'll do a very quick one just from Naomi Williams was wondering if we had any plans to make merch with either Sweet Sweet or Johnny's Cheers Mate, Thanks Mate by sign off on it. Yes, we haven't signed off any Sweet Sweet merch yet, but there is a... We're going to do two, aren't we? Cheers Mate, Thanks Mate by T-shirts.
Yeah, we've got them. We've signed them off.
We've signed them off. We have a sort of business call this afternoon about that, but they're happening soon. Hopefully, we'll get the T-shirts out before the summer's over. So, yes, Naomi, there will be some Cheers Mate, Thanks Mate by T-shirts coming, and we will do Sweet Sweet at some point, I think.
We've got some quality merch coming, so it would be lovely if when we release it, you like it, and thus buy it.
Otherwise, the whole enterprise collapses.
Otherwise, this is a pointless exercise. But yes, thank you very much. We are going to have some of that, and we might do a Sweet Sweet.
I do wonder, because I did think, well, we should do a T-shirt that just says Sweet Sweet Guy on the front of it, and I was like, would people want to wear that, or does it look a bit boastful? I don't know. But let us know if you really want a Sweet Sweet Guy T-shirt.
Yeah, let us know, because, I mean, maybe we should wear them as prototypes, and if we look like complete dinglings, everyone will go, I'm not going to wear that. So then,
yeah, fair enough.
I've got a letter from Stu Morris, and I think this is a great letter. Hi, chaps. Is it actually a letter? No, it's an email, Richard.
Okay, just checking.
An electric letter. An eletter. This is a wondrous electric letter from a gentleman called Stu Morris. And he says, hello, guys. It's 2050, and you're on your way to the Goodwood Revival. It's a glorious morning in Sussex, and it feels good to be alive. Sweet Guy, the Duke of Richmond, has extended eligibility of his event to the year 2000 vehicles. That's vehicles made up to the millennium. What are you driving? And more importantly, what are you wearing? Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Goodbye. Wearing.
So you can take any car made up to the year 2000 to the Goodwood Revival.
I mean, it's sort of a scary prospect because it might be a possibility that the festival is still going by then. We are older people than we currently are.
Well, the fact is that 2050 is barely any further away than the year 2000 was.
Shit. You're absolutely right. Oh, gosh. Okay.
Which is a slightly scary fact. But anyway, the year 2000... Well, I don't know why. The first thing that popped into my head for no accountable reason was a Lancia Thema 832.
What a car, Richard.
Yeah. But why do I suppose just so much Alcantara.
You'd be on the M25 and Harry Metcalf would pull up next to you and... Harry would say, it's funny that you're driving down in the 832 because I've just built a hovercraft using 4 of those engines, but I thought I'd take it on its maiden voyage on an exceptionally stormy day near Dover to just see what happens, using sustainable fuel, obviously.
Yes, of course.
Because that's the least of my worries. But I can't sink it because I'll get sued for sea pollution, so it has to stay afloat. So this is a great question. It's 2050. You're on the way to the revival. A car up to.
I can't get past that Thema.
I think it'd be nice to have 2 choices. One of a performance car, and maybe one of a rare but nobody cares type category of car.
Yes, yeah.
So if I was going to be the performance category, I think it would be E39 M5 BMW.
Oh,
because it's just so handsome, it's so drivable. You can still get it 3 pedals, Spanish way to spec, and I think that they're only going to increase in value. I'm not saying that's a premise for why I would buy it, but I think it's a usable car. There's a safe bet that is still handsome, and it's BMW should look at that car on everyone's screensaver in the BMW design department right now to go, do you remember when we used to make cars that were just classy and handsome and that weren't fussy and weird?
It's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, was the other part of the question, what are we wearing?
Yeah, what are we wearing? Because the Duke of Richmond, who's obviously a sweet, sweet guy, he wants to know what we're wearing. So...
Not in a pervy on the phone kind of way, though.
No, not in a... What are you wearing then, Richard?
He's extended eligibility of cars to the year 2000, but then he's sort of doubled down on the clothing. So it's like I'm sick of people dressing as RAF officers from 1944,
from the 40s. I'm just fed up with the sort of like the glory of World War II.
Maybe you should move the sliders so it's like you can drive any car up to the year 2000, but you can't drive anything earlier than 1970. 75?
Interesting.
Imagine that.
That'll be incredible.
I'm going to say 75 because then you've got a 25-year window.
Because it's a good window.
In fact, why don't they they could do a 2-tier revival. Keep the revival where everyone dresses like they pretend they're in the war and lots of sort of 50s and 60s.
60s ladies.
But then do something else. The Goodwood get together, and it's cars from 75 to 2000, and it's you've got to dress in period. In which case,
well, that would be. I mean, I've suggested this seriously as it would appeal more to our generation and younger people who are now in their 30s, perhaps 30s, 40s, and those are the people who are probably needing to propagate the classic and retro car market more than ever. So.
Yeah,
let's do that. But what am I wearing? I think. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go as a raver.
Oh, I'm going to say that.
Were you? I'm straight out of 1992, 91, 92.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have bollocks. I'm going to dress as I did in 91. So 92. So I've got my purple Champion trousers on. I've got my feeler boots with the big F on the tongue, or possibly my Nike Air Max 90s in the fluorescent orange, and the T-shirt. I might have my Prodigy Experience T-shirt.
Okay. I was going to have a white hoodie with a big I on the front of it.
Oh wow!
Like as in an I that you see through, not a letter I.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I used to have a T-shirt, which was my favourite T-shirt. One of those ones where I wore it to the point where it went thinner than Tiff's leather jacket, and it just fell to pieces like a piece of kitchen roll. And it was Brian the Snail from the Magic Roundabout. Yes. A really detailed, high colour print, and it had a little thought bubble above his head, and it said "Sleep all day, rave all night." And I used to think it was the greatest T-shirt. I wore it to hell. So I'd love to.
That's amazing.
I might see if that exists and buy it again.
Right, well, good. I think that's a good canter through some questions. I wanted to end with a message from a listener called Ben Rodway, who is also Yellow Pahoot on social media. Pahoot as in Princess Anne had one of those. It's a scimitar-related thing. I don't know why there's scimitars and Princess Anne. I don't see any connection there. But anyway, that's what he is on social media. Ben is a kindred spirit to me, in as much as when he's got a lot of work on, he decides to instead dick around on music creation software.
I don't know anybody like that.
Yeah, so he's made a little sort of he calls it a sweet piece of trance. I would call it sort of mellow trance, which he's calling Polonaise Skyline featuring Arna.
Polonaise Skyline.
Yeah, so he's made us a little track for the close of this show, so we'll end with that this week. Thank you, Ben, for the music. Thank you to everyone for listening. We'll answer more questions next Friday. Until then, goodbye.
Thank you. Love you. Bye. Cheers. Thanks. Bye. Yeah.
Subscribe and review. You know just what to do. Like, subscribe and review. You know just what to do. Like, subscribe and review. Stella.